All right, hello and welcome to the week 3, I believe, cast of the NA cast of the SCL5. With me today, I have Toboshi
Hello, hello.
and Warning Track.
Hello, great to be here.
All right, well, let's just hop right into it. So we have let me pull up the picks and bans for Infamous Cupcakes versus Dells.
Just before we jump right into things, I just want to iterate real quick. First match is going to be Oak League, Infamous Cupcake versus Dells. People down there and how they play. Second match is going to be Silver League, Pofsky versus Screwloose. And the third match is going to be Diamond League, Crazy Kaylee versus KCM.
Yeah, it's even as someone in Diamond, I have to admit that there's another hype tier in Diamond above just being Diamond, and that is the Kaylee KCM rivalry that stretches very far back and has produced some of the best matches and best casts we've ever had the pleasure of being involved in. But I don't want to undersell the other matches either. Oak is very interesting. You get people who get really good really quick, but are also still learning. So you get a lovely mix of high-level plays and just entertaining aggression sometimes too. Usually, sometimes more fun to cast than the higher-level games, frankly.
No matter what happens, I think all of this is going to be fun. But as Slappy was saying, we're opening up with Infamous Cupcake versus Dells. Take us away with the picks and bans there.
All right, so up first we have the bans of Library for Infamous Cupcakes, bans for Gallery from Dells, and then the picks from Infamous Cupcakes of Ballroom and Pub, the picks from Dells, Modern, and Courtyard. And we don't know that much about these players' playstyles yet. Interesting that 2 of the more spy favored maps perhaps being banned on the top. Big maps that lots can get away. But then they picked Ballroom and Modern anyways, so...
Yeah, normally we have analysis about picks and bans, but in this case, these players are so new that we are going to learn about them by actually casting their match in the first place.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right, well, let's just hop right in then. We have, I believe up first is Infamous Cupcake as the spy. And let me go ahead and get everything ready, but I believe we'll be ready to go in just a second. And then whenever you're ready to go, Tobo, take us away.
Let's make this happen in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And that is technically an etiquette break right there, I think, yeah?
I think we're probably going to get quite a few of those over the course of the evening.
Maybe I shouldn't be counting them. Yeah, that's true. Every time I see a new player with a suspicious or overpowered character, say like Smallman or here Kane, I always wonder if they are aware of their notoriety.
Yeah, this is very true. Either way, we do indeed have Infamous Cupcake opening things off on the spy side of Ballroom, Dells on the sniper. Just now stepping in for our first flirt, which results in 48%, which makes me very unhappy, Warning Track.
I know, I'm sorry, but if it makes you feel any better, again, just like the etiquette stuff, there's probably going to be a lot of things that make you at least a little unhappy tonight.
Probably not as bad as that, but yeah, this is true.
Yeah, it's honestly the only thing worse is the 99, but the 48 almost, because you're already preemptively ready for the 99.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. Either way, we get a pair of inspects and a highlight at the back. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's good.
Hanging out in an innocent conversation at the moment. Looks like we're very curious about whether or not we can get a bug on this ambassador, judging from what the camera's doing, but we just took a drink in the cane hand, so I don't know.
Yeah, you can tell a lot from the spy's camera, absolutely. When they're eyeing up that ambassador, either waiting for a print or, like you say, eyeing up a bug. But in this case, the drink kind of precludes that.
Banana bread.
Picking up a contact, 3 highlights, gone from it too. Only 3 lowlights, but they were all suspects.
Yeah, I would say 3 lowlights is actually slightly below average on Ballroom, maybe close to average, but if they're all highlights, that's a different story entirely, especially with new players who I would say for whom highlights much more important.
You've got a drink being... Okay, this is fine. White Purloin is a little bit less fine, but Toby is cooperating, luckily enough.
Dells is
Duke
trying to
takes a
spot
drink.
it.
Duke did, in fact, take a drink. I don't know if he lifted it up fast enough, but apparently he did. Dells is on top of things and picks up game number 1.
That's pretty impressive. Based on the original camera movement, I actually didn't think they noticed, but I think they just kind of figured it out. What they really saw there was that it was gone before he took it. They got just enough of a view to be confident that whoever had taken last must have gotten it. They technically missed it. I think if they'd run away the other way and gulped, might have gotten away with that. But I actually liked kind of the backwards working logic from Dells there to save that game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a surprisingly good shot considering the setup for it.
Yeah, you have the presence of mind to sit there and think, okay, well, as long as it was already gone before he took it, who could it have been? Think about it, find them, take the shot, nice and calm.
Either way, Dell stepping into the spiral next. Let's see how he plays things in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Do not want to be at the windows to start, apparently.
Yeah, that's a hard redirect, but I think you're going to be okay here.
It's so hard to catch that stuff early in the game. You've got so much to watch.
You totally do. I'm going to say it's still a little underrated because you can definitely do it. It really depends on whether or not the spy has a reputation for doing it, and most don't, to be fair.
This is true. Slow start from Dells, hasn't been able to get to anything he particularly wants to be at. Definitely an animation break on the way out of conversation, though. As you were saying.
Yeah, sort of just trying to guess where that ST is going to end up, as opposed to finding a place to idle and wait and see where they land, which would be the safer way to go about it.
See, Infamous Cupcake, this is how you do the first flirt. That's how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, the main issue, honestly, the only problem with the 48 is that if it happens on a green test, you're basically close enough that you might as well be right next to them from the sniper's perspective.
Oh, that bug, though! The wrong arm in between the conversations. That was pretty.
That was really good. That looks like a veteran's bug in a lot of ways, but it actually didn't matter that much. Cupcake was zoomed in on something else at the time, so it could have been ugly and still worked, but at least we got to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Picking up an innocent drink at the window, and now that we've got the hardtail out of the way, we have got control of this game.
I love it when you get a good bug and you're glad it's not seen, but you kind of wish it was because you want to show it off. You're not really sure what to hope for. It's a little bit of both, really.
Yeah.
Well, this is how it gets seen. We get to see it, Dells.
Unfortunately, seduction target not hanging around for the second flirt.
And remember, this is Oak. This is an Oak League player, sub 1,000 games, both of them, just right a little under that. That's a pretty good bug for that many games.
Yeah, very, very good bug. Problem is, Dells has spent a lot of time idling after the fact. Now stepping into center statues, picks up a highlight to go with his inspects, but we still just have the one completion under 1:20.
That'll make 2, and if they can hit this flirt, though, suddenly they've got plenty of time. This is going to be a big action test when they finally sidle up next to the twin.
That's true.
Uh-oh, it's going to have to be 3 at shells, or you're going to have to go get the BB and then wait to flirt afterwards. That's what I would do here, I think.
Yep, looks like that's the plan. Stepping in for the contact early on. There it goes off the white test. Lots and lots of
7.
movement.
7 lowlights available, but I'm not sure how many Cupcake's
None
getting. It looks like,
taken.
yeah, they're more concerned about whether or not it's covering for a purloin, it looks like. And it is not, as we know, because the bug is already done.
That is an interesting decision. 38 seconds as we step in for this flirt. That might not be in range. It's a green test. No, it happened. Why? Why do you do this?
You know, it's funny. Sometimes they suggest we cast matches because they're exciting or close or whatever. They might have picked this one just for that moment, just to bother you.
Oh, I'm mad. I'm mad about it, one track.
Still plenty of time to rush it, though.
This
Yeah.
might be a time ad. No, he's just going back to the flirt, but he's moving. He stopped at windows. 10 seconds. It's going to be overtime, but it's going to be a brief one.
This would be a heck of a shot under the
It's
circumstances.
going to be 2 seconds.
I think they're safe.
I think so too. Here we go. Overtime. Not enough time to get a shot off. And Dells picks up a 2-0 start.
Yeah, and a really strong one, too. That was not one of those things where, hey, you know, the sniper's a little new, they missed something obvious or anything like that. That was just a clean, good ballroom game any way you slice it. I will say that a lot of...
Except for the flirt.
Except for the flirt. I will say that a lot of experienced snipers might have caught them for that aggressive flirt there at the end, maybe sort of like a, you know, catch up kind of thing. But that's still a tough shot for anyone to take. So
Yeah.
a very impressive game from Dells. But you got to stand close enough that if you hit the green, you win. You got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, as you were saying, it is hard to overstate. That was a powerful game as Spy. Let's see if Cupcake is able to clap back in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I always want to see how new players react to deficits, react to tough losses, things like that. You got to keep playing. And for some people, it's a little easier than others. Some people need some time to recover. Some people thrive on that kind of adversity.
InfamousCupcake's taking notes, this time hitting start of the game with his own 51% flirt.
Might just be trying to timer flirt here. Nope.
No, it's just taking a moment to get his bearings. This is not a particularly good contact, and he knows that, so he's not going to take it. Oh, that was interesting.
I like that. It actually was not particularly visible on the sniper side. I think it kind of feels opportunistic. Oh boy, what's that? What is going on?
That was so good.
What is with the low light here? Just the crazy path of bouncing around, maybe? Maybe just doesn't think they want a microfilm.
Maybe.
I mean, you don't see newer players don't like to microfilm on ballroom as a general rule, in my opinion. So I kind of get that. It still stymies me a little bit, that low light. I also don't know if it's going to matter, because if they really did get away clean with that bug and half a flirt, as long as they don't idle too much, they're obviously in a dominant position, low light or no.
Yeah, it could have just been the crazy path as well that got the low light happening.
Yeah. Don't you love that? I mentioned this earlier in the cast. I said, let's play my favorite game, top suspect or low light.
Yeah.
And they got low light a second later, and that's kind of the sense here. They could either be a top suspect for that path and that bug, or they could be a low light, and they're a low light.
Contact comes off. Reasonable number of lowlights coming out. We've got about half the party down at this point. Unfortunately, that includes the Spy.
Yep, but the Spy doesn't know it. I don't know if they have a lot of reason to believe it either, so they still got to finish. If they can hit this flirt, which they presumably want to do next, it looks like, they're in pretty good shape. They might not want to go to statues, though. Well, that made me look like a fool.
Speaking of, center statues is where we wind up. Let's see if Dells is able to bring this back.
I mean, the decision about whether or not to go to center statues is purely, do you think you're a suspect for that bug or not? And they have correctly surmised that they're probably not a very big suspect. But they can't... Oh, can they finish?
Yes. Yeah, just barely. Got it done.
That was close.
Now stepping in for the next flirt. This is flirt number 2, but we still have 50 seconds to play. Does not hit the green test, but we have time.
And this feels like a repeat of the previous game. It's a really good bug the sniper doesn't see, and then it's, oh, I can't hit 2 flirt late, so I'm going to go to Windows, bounce around, and come right back and flirt again. It's the same thing, really.
This is true. Oh, look at this. Distance on the last flirt, too. That's pretty.
Yeah, that's just clean. I mean, there's really not too much to analyze there. It's a crazy bunch of collisions, and there's an opportunity to take the bug since you're bouncing around anyway. Cupcake takes it, gets a low light just after, but probably didn't need one. And that's a big win after falling behind 2-0.
Yeah, purse hand too. With the amount of chaos during that bug, it's really hard to tell when a hand stops swinging. And with the Queen's purse side bug, you really don't have... Like, that's a good bug.
Yeah, it's a good bug. I think the only way you catch it is if the sniper is just recognizing, and this is actually where experience comes in, recognizing the ambassador is in a vulnerable position and preemptively zooming and selling out on making sure nobody bugs. But that's a tough thing to do, and it's the kind of thing you get good at over time. You just sort of feel the vulnerability of the ambassador in certain scenarios, but you have to react preemptively. If you wait until the moment when they're really vulnerable, it's already too late.
Slow start to the set, but Cupcake is on the board. On the sniper side as well now, looking to tie this thing up going into the next map. Dell's on the Spy, looking to retain the lead in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, it was a good, clean game. The low light, just the icing on the cake.
Indeed. Starting things out with the flirt as per usual. This time, though, no green test accompanying it.
Well, that actually feels more significant than usual because we've seen both spies have to rush their flirts at the end, and the timing, the pacing stuff, that is another thing that newer players... Whoa, misclick. That is another... Pacing is another thing that newer players take a little while to get good at. That's the kind of thing where just cramming games over years really, really helps.
This is very true.
Banana bread.
Contact comes off nice and early, but that's a pretty quick removal of a bunch of suspects. That's, what, 5 lowlights?
Yeah, this is rough. You almost kind of have to lean into a rush here, I think.
Only picked up 2 of them.
That's another thing we've seen so far, too. We saw this in the previous game. There were 7 available lowlights to Cupcake, you remember, and I think they only got a couple. Maybe they don't actually seem to be trying to get all of them either. I think they're paying more attention to who could contact, maybe, than getting lowlights. But in these cases, there have been so many lowlights available, I think the smart play, especially early in the game, is to just take as many of them as you can get.
I would agree. 68% on the flirt now, the contact done, picking up the briefcase, but there's no fingerprint on it.
Yeah, we're just being polite here with no actual mission progress.
Aye.
It's nice. As a person, I admire it, but as a caster hoping a spy finishes missions, I abhor it.
Either way, we've got some reasonable progress in. Still 2 minutes left to play, and most of the flirt done, contact done. We need to find a hardtail somewhere. Not venturing into statues as of yet. Looks like eyeing up a possible bug on the way across, but decides just to finish up the flirt real quick instead.
I think that's the thing. You look around for opportunities. If you don't find one, take the safe, simple thing, and then eye up the party again, because you know it's going to be different every 20 or 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Minute and 15 left to play. We need 2 full missions. There's one on the white purloin. I don't think it's been seen either. Now it has. Does she know where it came from?
Dells is gulping at a painting pad there. I think that might be clean. But do they dare go to statues late? Because the sniper is going to be desperate here, looking for people finishing.
It's a side statue.
You know what that means.
Go statue to statue here.
It might mean a swap. Yep.
Oh, yes, it does indeed. It's a green test on it. Still 40 seconds left on the clock, so plenty of time to get that swap off.
I think you kind of want a lowlight to take it now.
Yeah, because then InfamousCupcake is unlikely to be even looking.
Oh, it's a Hylet Smallman!
It's Smallman!
A Hylet Smallman instead! Oh, boy.
Okay. Oh,
And
my.
The fade is off screen.
Fade.
Yep,
Did
behind
not
a pillar.
see the fade. It was behind a pillar.
Yep, absolutely right. Just what I was going to say. You nailed it, Tobo, and that's going to change the game right there. Yep.
Probably saw it at the end, but it was not in time. Dells is able to make it happen on the spy side of Ballroom and goes up 3-1 at the end of the first map as we step into Modern, which is a very different beast.
It really is, and I really want to see how they react to this. So far, obviously, the story, Spy's playing particularly well, but the Sniper's letting too much through. That is a white purloin and gulp, and again, 2 games from Dells giving up a lot of lowlights that Cupcake does not take advantage of. Those things really hurt you in the end of the game.
Looked like Cupcake caught the purloin as well. Didn't know what kind of fade it was, but after that, you'd think you'd be like that. That is how you bring back up a low light.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And if you are not sure about it, one of the next things you can do, you want to fail gracefully, you want to say who's walking away with a drink in their hand and who finishes it up. Because if it's not the spy gulping, then it's at the very least an AI who just happened to have 1 sip left and be walking away. And how often does that happen right when the purloin goes off?
Indeed. Either way, 3-1, Dell's favor as InfamousCupcake steps into the spy side of Modern. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And I mentioned earlier that new spies in particular struggle with pacing a little bit. This venue right here, this will test it even more. You basically cannot mission complete on Modern without good pacing. you need to keep very busy.
Absolutely. This is going to be an interesting one to be sure. Cupcake starting things out by picking up that green book and bailing with it.
And that can work, especially if there's activity at the beginning of the game. You can just take a book and dump it later, and they're either completely on it or it's free. It's very binary most of the time.
Early book take into a green flirt. You were saying we need to pay attention to our pacing, and Cupcake is doing just that so far.
Yeah, if they unless or until they get better with that pacing, ATs can cover for it. If they flirt quickly, they can get away with some of the pacing issues early on.
Stepping into conversation with the double agent now, looking for a possible contact. It's not a bad time for it, really.
No, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all.
This is actually a good time for it, I would venture to say.
You got to do this and get out of here real quick. It's decaying.
So long. This is so good. It's still good.
So what I'm worried about is okay, so that actually makes even less sense to me. I thought maybe they were waiting because they had someone in particular they wanted to make sure that was in, maybe that statue visitor, Walt, for example. But since they did it anyway, I don't really understand what the hesitancy. It might just be trying to space things out and not zoom around too much.
Either way, only 2 lowlights to show for it. It has Dells, and Cupcake has got the transfer done, got the contact done, got 51% on the flirt, and got 2 minutes and 45 left to play.
It's definitely starting to occur to me that maybe one of the biggest things we take for granted casting mid or high level matches is how effective snipers get at taking the lowlights that are offered to them. You see now here, there are a lot of lowlights left on the table every time.
Yeah, you never want to leave lowlights on the table. Those can be so huge, narrowing down the party.
You can make an intelligent decision to say, I want to focus on talkers, or I'm more concerned with that, and it's worth it. But I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think it's a judgment call. I think it's just maybe a little bit of a lack of experience. You need a little more practice to get them really, really quickly.
Pair of inspects and a fingerprint off of the statues. Picks up a highlight for her trouble, but it's looking pretty good for Cupcake so far.
Yeah, you will trade that highlight for all this progress. You are an inspect, a fingerprint, and half a flirt away from being completely done with just the one hardtail, which I don't think was seen.
All the way across the conversation from the seduction target. Still hits a green test.
That's huge, actually.
Yeah, that brings us up to 76%, and that is sizable.
Well, here's what's really interesting. There was a spot available next to Boots. So they could have gone right next to them, which suggests to me that they're actually very worried about being flirt paired or being too obvious. When you think about the delay, too, with the banana bread, I think we're just seeing a lot of caution here.
Ooh, that was not a bad bug at all on the way in. It was visible, but not very.
No, and Dell's kind of moved to the right a little bit just as it happened. They can infer the path maybe, and it's very suspicious that they stood next to them and then left, but not actually really seen, and I think they're going to get away with this.
One cycle at the inspect on the statue, and now we just need the one more flirt to finish this up.
And that actually is a big mental error there. Going to bar as your ST is clearly finishing up their action at bar. You know you're not going to make it, or you should know at least by now.
Yeah. Didn't take drink either. That could be a problem.
And stood too far away.
Oh, no, you don't want to be this far away! It's only a white test. It's 93%.
That's another unforced error, I think. And here we go again. Stop me if you've heard this one. This is the third time the spy is going to fail to hit a crucial test, walk to the window, and then run back to flirt and finish anyway. But I think they might get away with it for a third time here.
It was a great start from Cupcake. Started to fall apart at the end, but I think it's going to be enough either way. About 16 seconds when the last flirt comes off, and Dells is not onto it. Infamous Cupcake picking up the first spy game on Modern. Brings it back up to 2-3.
Yeah, this is what I meant when I said that you get a weird mix of plays from Oak and other divisions around there. You get these bugs, which are actually pretty good. The microfilm is a good decision. Then you get a couple inexplicable decisions. 2 of them related to the flirt, another one at bar when the ST is clearly about to leave. Those are the kind of things that, stop these games from being really, really good as opposed to just surprisingly good.
Yeah, contact as well.
Yeah, and the contact too. Yeah. So you can definitely see the weird mix of like high-level plays, high-level execution, good decisions, but then a lot of little perplexing ones and smaller errors too. But in all three cases, the spies managed to finish up that flirt and win anyway.
And a lot of this stuff just gets ironed out with experience.
Yes, absolutely. So honestly, the fact that they're making such good high-level decisions about some of these big missions, about like the microfilm and the bug, that actually bodes very well going forward because the other stuff we're talking about is much more easily fixed.
Absolutely. Dell's on the spy side, looking to retain his lead in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, very big win for Cupcake, and it's all spies so far, really. The spies are playing really well, the snipers are just missing too much.
Indeed.
It's the exact opposite of most of the games we cast.
Like, as much as we complain that SpyParty is a sniper favorite game, it's very easy to forget that it's a sniper favorite game at very, very high levels.
Yes, yeah, we just disproportionately cast more experienced players, of course, but if you get people who are even pretty experienced as opposed to insanely experienced, it's actually pretty entertaining and the spies win plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. 51% on the flirt to start the game once again. Now we're in a big lineup at bar, so we might be able to get some interesting business going on with the delegate. We'll see what Dells does with this.
Yeah, that's a nice rush, and that's something you can cover for. Ooh, it takes the highlight for it, though. Very interesting. Not highlighting the other bar visitors, I don't think.
I'm confused.
Yeah, so these are clearly not specific highlights. You see a highlight at bar, you see a highlight at statues. There's 5 of them already. This is tough. I would say for a newer sniper, it's hard for any sniper, frankly, to have highlights that count for multiple things other than general suspicion because you have to remember so much, especially on Modern. But I'd say for a newer sniper, it's going to be particularly difficult. I think the best you can do is sort of just use them to remind you of who to look at later.
Well, there goes the delegate. In conversation with Smallman as well, who was at bar.
And that helps a lot. Yeah, I think that's actually key. That's the best you can do with this.
Now stepping in for the next flirt, brings us up to 85%. Purloin comes off. I don't know if the Purloin's been noticed yet.
I'm not sure, but Rocker got a highlight when she went there.
Okay,
So
now we're starting to get some lowlights, actually.
Yep, now they've seen the Purloin, and
Banana bread.
And we're just going to lean into this confusion.
3 clear lowlights available. 2 of them were highlight at the time. None of them got taken. Oh, there's one, actually.
You got to get Duke for this. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, much better. So this is interesting. They were starting to get lowlights for Purloin, and then they were given a couple more for Banana Bread.
2 minutes to play. 2 missions complete. Most of the flirt done as well.
And Dells is going back for another drink, presumably to get this fingerprint, and also because you can lose a little heat. Who goes to bar, except for fingerprint, of course, after the Purloin's already gone off?
This is true.
If you don't notice the fingerprint, you actually lose heat for it.
Well, we do have that fingerprint in our pocket now. Luckily, Seduction Target steps right into us, so that's a free mission completion. That's 3 done. Minute and 20 to play. We have a fingerprint.
The Ambo's going back to bar. Oh, can you resist a bug and fingerprint right here?
Yes, apparently.
You can resist one of those 2 things.
Yes.
Well, what's it going to be last? That's the problem, because I don't think you're going to go statue to statue late, even though if you had an inspect already under your belt, you'd clearly try to finish with that.
That even could have been a cane side bug on the way in.
Yeah.
Either way, the fingerprint is done. We've got just under a minute to play. What does Dells do for the last mission?
Well, we're going to break etiquette and conversation again, and once again it's with Kane, but I think we're okay.
Wow, we're really breaking etiquette and conversation.
Yeah, this is the most aggressive idling I've seen in a while. Don't go to bar. Okay.
Statues?
That is a very wonky path into statues. Yeah, oh yeah, we haven't had to bust that one out in a while. It is
we
very
have
much.
Not.
And Cupcake is really looking at this. I don't see how you're going to get away with this.
There it is. Yep, swap comes off. So does the shot. And ladies and gentlemen, we are tied at 3.
I think that was given away. I think if you are patient with the microfilm, for example, or you just go to take a bug, even a fairly aggressive bug, I think your odds are just a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, one
I think
thing I'm
you're
just
right.
going to jump in here and note is I just am harping on my normal things of sequencing. We got to 4 missions, took a drink, and the only things available were going to be blocked by having a drink. We had to either pick up a book, pick up a statue, or bug with one of your hands blocked.
Yep. So they wasted about 15 to 20 seconds in an empty conversation breaking etiquette when they could have been doing a lot of other things. I think that was a really good first 90% of the game.
Yeah, I think so. Not able to close it out, though, and that lets Cupcake right back into things. Now she's on the spy side. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
But, as we've seen, spies are doing pretty well, so not too bad to be on the spy side.
This is true.
And 2 straight wins gets Cupcake back into this.
Opening up with the flirt once. Man, people are on point with these action tests at the start of the game.
Yeah, what is up with this? That's usually one of the things I find that newer players take a while to get good at. It's just a lot of muscle memory and reflex and stuff like that. They're hitting a lot of them. And like I said earlier, it's covering for some of the pacing issues.
Indeed.
Because you see them rushing these flirts late, that's with a 51% flirt to start. Imagine how brutal it would have been on those other spy games. They wouldn't have finished at all if they hadn't hit that green in the beginning.
Once again, at a bit of a lineup in bar. It tends to happen at the beginning of Modern. That's just why a lot of people don't go to bar early in Modern.
Yeah, the beginning of happy hour, too. That's what it's like.
Bails before you're able to grab the drink.
I like it. So you get the delegate, you walk away. Technically, it's a tell, but you're not facing Dowsy here. You're not facing Bloom. You're not facing, anyone golden above. You're going to get away with that almost every time. Oh, this looks clean. This looks really clean to me. I think this is just going to be totally free.
That's a lot. That was a weird little decision, but I'm not complaining. There's the flirt. There's the purloin done. Now stepping into statues, picking up a pair of inspects. Plenty of time to work with, although that gets eaten up pretty darn quickly on this map. It's always deceptive how little time you wind up having.
Well, we have partial progress on Seduce, partial progress on Inspect, and we have 2 beyond that. But whether or not we want to do that before we pick up a likely highlight for another statue visit or for rushing Seduce, it might be better to run something in right now.
Banana bread.
And are we going to try to go for bug?
Double Agent steps into conversation with us, and we pick up the bug for it. 1 low light so far, and it doesn't look like we're picking up any more, so that wound up being quite good.
One thing I'm noticing is I think it's mostly bad luck. A lot of DAs have been out of conversation during the real BB, and if there was to be any assumptions made by the sniper, they could lower the party by a lot. I don't know if any fakes have really gone off yet in this set.
No, they played it straight, yeah.
InfamousCupcake finally takes a highlight. Not entirely sure what for. Staring down the ambassador, it looks like, trying to figure out where he's going to go. And that is very nearly in bug range, but not quite.
It's probably for the best because
Oh, that was a little bit too bold, Cupcake.
Yep. Dells was staring at that, by the way. Oh, missed the pad a little, I think?
Yep, missed the pad a little bit, but it looks like it's worked out. The inspect is done. Didn't get caught for the bug, and InfamousCupcake finds a way out in front, 4-3.
What I love about that bug, not just that it's gutsy as hell, is that Dells zooms in on that moment when the ambassador approaches them just out of range, right? And then, when they're satisfied a bug has not taken place yet, they zoom out and look elsewhere, and that's when Cupcake does it. In the wake of the zoom, when they have decided the ambassador is safe for the moment. That little delay, that little hitch, to do it right after they're vulnerable, not when they're vulnerable, is a nice little meta move that works a surprising amount of the time. Boy, these spies are pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. The spy play has been impressive so far.
Yeah,
Cupcake.
the snipers have still missed some stuff, but here's the thing. They're also missing really good bugs and really good plays that even better snipers would miss. There are definitely mistakes. We mentioned the low lights a few times, but that's kind of nitpicking here. This is surprisingly good play.
Yeah, absolutely. Dells now stepping into the spy side of Modern. Let's see what he can do with Smallman on 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Now, I mentioned we don't have a lot of information about these two players. They're both a little under 1,000 games, I believe. They played each other in Shark Week yesterday, by the way, and they both shot each other, so it was all snipers there in 2 games at least. Also worth noting that these two are fighting it out for second place in Oak. Remember, first and second play each other at the end of the season in each division. Right now, they have a clear leader in first, but these two, head-to-head is the first tiebreaker, so the winner of this match has a huge advantage towards making the finals at the end of the season.
51% once again on the first flirt as well. Now, pick up a drink and a delegate, because why not? And out into the world we go. Oh!
What is that? I mean, look, if it's trying to do crazy briefcase redirect because the timing lines up, I mean, fair play, kind of impressive, but I'm not sure that's what was going on. I think it was just bouncing.
Yeah, that was just, I think, a bit of a mishap on the way into conversation. Which happens. We've got the delegate out. We've got another flirt to bring us up to 73%.
So the drink is gone, which helps with this delegate and covering for it, but here's the problem. There was no cover in that conversation. It was wide open. It was obvious they were the ones next to Walt. Usually, if you get crammed in between 4 or 5 people, much harder to tell. If they were looking at all over there, they're going to have a very good sense.
Combo bug, though.
And they were too busy. Cupcake was too busy getting low lights in this case.
That was a very nice little move. Now picking up the briefcase to go for the fingerprint. A strong start from Dells.
But you see, Cupcake actually, I was whining about low lights over and over. They're actually getting a lot of them now a little delayed from the purloin. It's one of those things where maybe you remember or you become confident or risk tolerant over time for low lighting for people who couldn't have purloined. And the party is pretty well winnowed down, but there are 2 hardtails done already, so that might be a good trade for Dells.
Second fingerprint coming off of the bar. This is such a good game, but not good enough. Cupcake is on it.
Wow, with 0 statues and no banana bread, but they're thinking fingerprint could be done. They're one of the possible purloiners, and it's Smallman, so what else did I miss? It may be an aggressive shot, but it's a pretty darn good one, and Cupcake pulling away now. Is that 4 in a row?
Yeah, I think it is, but good God, that was a powerful shot on the sniper.
Yeah, and not just because Smallman was literally knocked off his feet by it.
Yeah, no kidding.
When shot from behind, by the way. Let's not worry about the physics too much just yet. We're a long way from 1.0.
First aggressive shot we've seen so far. Generally, the snipers have been pretty conservative, but, man, Cupcake was on top of that.
That's an excellent point. Spies are completing missions, and finally a sniper said, enough, I will take the uncertain shot to stop this from happening. And yeah, I think Cupcake swept on Modern?
Yeah, I think so.
Good grief.
Good gravy. All right. Well, Cupcake back on the spy side, this time in Softel Pub with no bug and no swap. In 3, 2, 1, play it.
It's another Bar Toby game. Yeah.
And as is the usual, we're starting things off on the Seduce. I almost got really mad about the Seduce positioning, but it wasn't the green test, so I'm okay.
It's okay. It's not bad. What I really want to see here, and again, I'm just going to keep harping on this with less experienced players, what are they looking at? Are they paying enough attention to the party? Because it's so much more important on Softel variants to do that. You need to have a good party sense. You need to spend a good chunk of it not just doing missions, but seeing who else looks like they're doing missions. It's really important. It's not like Ballroom or Modern, where you can sort of just, especially at this level, just focus on making steady progress and hiding your missions well, and you're usually going to be okay. Here, you really need to be looking around a lot.
And Cupcake does have her head on a swivel, hasn't been looking too far to the left, but knows that there's or at least before Hair got there was a fingerprint on the statue available. But for now, just picking up that flirt 61%, which is not great, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not great, but what is great is that you can see from their camera movement on the spy side that they are paying a fair amount of attention to the party. Not paying attention to whether or not it's their turn to talk, but that's, again, that's the kind of thing that doesn't matter as much here. They should be able to finish up the flirt here. This is an example of going to bar at the right time with your seduction target, by the way, because you know they're going to be there a while.
Do we hit the green test? We do not. 83%.
That might be for the best. I think it would have been in the high 90s and made you very, very upset. Again, too much distance here. I think it's still too much distance.
Yeah. I think you're right.
And they are really eyeing the ambassador, by the way. They really want that bug, and they have a good character for it.
They do indeed. Ah, but we got drink in hand.
Drink in hand, and you can see them deliberately get farther away from the Amba. You don't want to be suspected of a bug you're not even trying.
Yeah. Sniper was at a bad angle for it as well, so even if he didn't have that drink, probably wasn't worth it. There's the seduction being finished after 4, which is not what you want, but that is...
Wow, okay. I mean, it's a Softel variant. Someone looks like they could be done. You get a little suspicious, maybe you phantom a bug, and that's that.
You gotta take shots like that on 3 of 5...
But no banana bread. So they must have suspected something more, possibly a bug.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have had to be fairly big to be worth taking a
fingerprint,
shot.
I think.
Either way, didn't work out. And Cupcake is on a tear right now. And she's on the sniper side. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Normally that would be significant, but again, newer players plus Softel variant equals I have no idea who's favored in this game.
That's true.
Normally I'll say sniper, but eh?
I mean, that Smolman shot last game makes you wonder.
Banana bread.
Ooh. Ooh. That's interesting. Let's off an early statue low light. But that's it. Just the one.
That's very strange. Normally you don't want to let off any statue highlights on this variant, but maybe they're fishing for a low light instead. And look at the highlights here. Yeah, you got to pay a lot of attention, though, to who could have done the real BB.
And Dells was not one of those people. Very interesting little maneuver there. Doesn't look like it's got him a huge amount of... it doesn't look like it's done him a lot of good.
Yeah.
But I still like the move.
It might not have hurt him either because, look, Hair goes back to the exact same statue. So I don't know if Cupcake was going to be taking a behavioral lowlight there for wasting time, especially because it's not a big sacrifice to go visit statues a second time on pub like this with all this time. But it's entirely possible they were going to be more or less ruled out anyway.
Stepping into bar for the flirt. 83% on the green test. That is a position where even the literal worst flirt in the possible game is still enough to finish the flirt.
So we're not going to have any issues with distance unless they stand way too far away at windows or something. That's good to know, at least.
Yeah, unless they stand so far away they can't flirt at all, this is fine.
And I don't think the AI are doing enough here for a frame right now because we've had no more statue visitors. I'm not sure there have been much of anything in the way of fingerprints. This is going to be a little rough if you're banking on a Civ shot.
It's been a quiet game to be sure, but we still have 1:30, so Deuce is done. We don't have a contact yet. The statue is still available, so other than that, we just need one more mission. But time is ticking down.
Yeah, you can go to statues and not necessarily get shot if they remember that you only could have faked. You got to make decisions soon, though. Party is not helping, though.
Looks like we're going for the contact. Not a bad time for it. Just let off 2 more lowlights. This is a
Banana bread.
good contact, though, all things considered.
Yeah, it's not bad. That could have gone a lot worse given the start here.
45 seconds. It's got to be a statue now.
Yeah, and we've been added to the ranks of the highlight, so they have noticed the implications here, and they've got this narrowed down. Maybe someone's going to help you by going to statues. Could Boots do it here?
There's a bug available. There's a bug available!
Well,
No,
the mission's turned off. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
mission's
true.
turned off. It's actually very interesting that they both turned bugged off. I was actually saying in previous casts, you want to turn bug off against an exceptional sniper because even on pub, you're probably not going to get away with it very often. But anyone less than a really, really good sniper, I would leave it on.
We're gonna purloin. We're just gonna straight up white purloin.
It's either going to be them or Duke, I guess, who gets shot if they're on this. They're staring at it. Who's it going to be,
There
Twin or
it is.
Duke?
It's gonna be Twin! And Infamous Cupcake keeps the ball rolling.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because if you go to statues, you maybe get shot, but you force the sniper to make a very frustrating decision.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the whole point there, and I don't think the frame was good enough. I think that's overthinking it just a little. I think you're probably going to die either way, but I think your odds are a little higher the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And that's it.
Yeah, I guess they must not have finished their set out. I think they probably just, if I recall correctly, there might have been a disconnect issue, and they decided, given the deficit, that was it. So I guess Cupcake takes the win.
Yeah, I guess so. Fair enough.
Really impressive stuff, and that was a 3-1 start. I'll remind you from Dells there. They can still hold their head pretty darn high. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a game missing here, unfortunately, everyone. Not sure what the tech issue is. Must not have uploaded properly. We'll figure it out later. But the final apparently is indeed 7-3. So
I mean,
Cupcake doesn't finish it up.
we watched 10 games.
Yeah, I think the score must have just been a little bit behind. That's okay.
Yeah, we just whiffed one. Everything's fine.
That's okay. But I mean, we've said this before. We've played some 7-3. We've seen some 7-3s on here that have actually been surprisingly close feeling game to game. And I feel like this is one of them. Just some really high level plays. Oak is scary. Who knew?
Yeah. That was some impressive stuff. I'm looking forward to watching more Oak games now.
Yeah, so I think the micro on Spy for both of them's got to get a little better. That makes a big difference. And the sniper's got to get a little more disciplined, certainly. Again, the low lights, things like that. I think if you do that, though, I mean, that's just sanding around the edges right now. The core fundamentals for both players are already in place to be very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on the Spy sides. The Spy sides were on point.
Yeah, Spies are getting good.
All right,
Spies
well,
are
let
getting
me
good indeed.
pull up the draft of the next one. So we are heading into Pafka versus Screw Loose, correct?
That is correct. And while you're doing that, by the way, I will point out that we did a predictions stream, and people had to predict Oak knowing basically nothing about any of the players, but they did it anyway, and they pretty much just went by which usernames they liked the most. So on that basis, Infamous Cupcake was a very popular choice.
And it worked out.
Yeah, I think they might have backed into that one a little bit, but I think it worked. I think it worked because Infamous Cupcake looks pretty good.